Welcome to the Ecom Growth Podcast, the show for founders and operators building real e-commerce businesses. I'm your host, Jordan Lally, and each week we sit down with e-commerce founders, CEOs, and operators to break down what's actually driving growth, from acquisition and systems to scaling decisions and hard lessons learned. In today's episode, we have Dustin Hoggard. Dustin, for people that don't know the brand yet, can you give us a high-level overview of what you sell and who it's for?
Yeah. We have found a little niche, and it's going to be accessories that you can wear that are functional. That embodies things like a hat with secret pockets that you can use while you're traveling, kind of like a money belt, but in a hat form. We do have a money belt too, but we took it and expanded it to not just be like a travel belt, although it's great for a travel belt. It has like a patent on it and everything. But we made it so you can wear it every day and kind of have some essentials on it. Some essentials like some like EDC, if you're familiar with that term. It's kind of become a lot more popular term in these days, but 6-7 years ago it wasn't so popular when we were kind of breaking into the EDC market. Necklaces that are really good for like outdoor events, typically like a fire starter necklace or a knife sharpening necklace. Bandanas that are really kind of framed for outdoor environments too, like a foraging bandana and a tracking bandana. We usually stick with the accessories. It may be a little self-serving to prevent us from having too many SKUs with sizes and colors and stuff like that too much. But usually accessories that you can wear that provide additional capability, if you will. And our tagline is everyday gear, wild capability, or shortened to just wild capability. And more broadly speaking, our mission is to provide the physical product, the physical thing that a person can wear that empowers them to feel like they can kind of step up to whatever challenges. I think we feel like we want to combat the victim mentality. And it's kind of our belief that in any given situation, you have two choices. You can choose to be the hero in your own scenario and say, you know what, not the best case situation, but I'm going to figure it out. Or you can make every excuse in the world and say, I can't because this, I can't because of that. And we want to nudge people in this direction. And we're currently using products as the vehicle for that.
I love that mission, and thanks for that intro. As someone who had a victim mentality for a lot of years between 17 to like 22, I'd say, it is vitally important to not play the victim. You are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your own ship. It is up to you to change your life. No, it's not your fault what happened to you, but damn it, it's your problem to solve, you know? So thank you for that.
Hey, Jordan,
Question. Yeah, what's up?
you're on my side, you're very pixelated.
Thanks for bringing that to my attention. It will be pixelated. Riverside records from local servers, meaning when we upload it, it's going to record from your camera, your side, and my version will have my camera. So when we combine them, you'll look super HD. Perfect. And Dustin, just to make sure I heard you clearly, you said EDC, like the music festival?
Oh yeah, see, so it's not as mainstream as I assume. So EDC is everyday carry.
Got it.
And yeah, I used to be, especially when you're doing like SEO a few years back, you were fighting that. That was a more popular term. Now it's become very popular. You see EDC, like that term EDC, everyday carry, that acronym, you're seeing it in all the popular, New York Times and Washington Post. Like it feels like, obviously I'm from the inside looking out. It feels like it's become a very common term. I'm sure if we watched like Google Trends or something, it's gotten crazy. But yeah, no, that's good to know. You don't know. Yeah, some people still don't know what EDC is, but it's everyday carry. And it's a whole other debate of what exactly that means. Generally speaking, it's what you're carrying on your person every day. That's the everyday carry. It's the thing your belt, you're putting your wallet in your pocket and your keys and maybe your pocket knife. It's the thing you consistently wear. The reality is that when we talk about EDC, it's usually people are like they're changing out their wardrobe constantly, at least their accessories. And so it's really not the everyday carry, but it's basically the accessories someone carries in their everyday life, so to speak. So that's what EDC is. And we did not start off as heavy into the EDC. We actually used to be called Wazoo Survival Gear. I partnered up with I had a business partner, and that was the original term. And I didn't like it from the very beginning. It was too pigeonholed, but we would drop that, and we have now broadened the scope of who we serve. And it is more of that everyday carry market. as well as travelers, as well as outdoor adventures and things like that. So the EDC we're really leaning into, and that's hence why I wanted to bring it up.
Well, no, thanks for the clarity there, because I definitely thought, Electric Daisy Carnival.
I mean, let's be honest, we make a belt with a hidden pocket that I have been told carries, tons of potential contraband, a hat that I am sure we have gotten snuck into a lot of environment. Oh, I know we've gotten snuck into a lot of environments and festivals and things like that because our products kind of serve multi-purpose, and one of those is hiding stuff on your person.
When you brought up hidden pockets in your hat, that is the first thing I thought of, but I wasn't gonna say it, so I'm glad you did, brother. That is really funny.
I haven't put it on the website, but an actual FAQ, I think it's kind of in jest that we get it sometimes, like, how much drugs can that hold?
Oh man, that is so
The
funny.
drug, I guess.
Right.
Answer that FAQ yet. We haven't dove down into like grams and pill capsules or anything like that, or what our volumetric measurements are on our stuff.
I think they should purchase it and figure that out for themselves.
I think so. We've had some answer that question for us and let us know how much they did fit of X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
That's very funny. Holy smokes, damn. A pretty good customer base, it sounds like, or fun customer base, rather.
It's a lot of fun, man. We do, maybe if we talk about some marketing, I have like a really interesting case study we did one time that I thought was so fun that I'd love to share, of like how weird and broad our customer base is and how much it really spans both blue and red and left and right and East Coast and West Coast and everyone in the center. Yeah. So and it's so interesting. I just started diving into, I just downloaded an app that is diving into our data of seeing our customers. And it's just so much fun to see how weird and wacky our customer base is. We do have a lot of different demographics.
I'm excited to dive in as well. Before we jump ship, I do kind of want to, I guess, get your backstory. So, how did this entire business transpire? What were you doing before this? Why ecom?
Yeah. For me, it was more of the stick than the carrot. Recall, I got a degree in advertising, fancy degree in advertising from one of the best schools in the world for advertising, and thought that was gonna be the route I took. Halfway through college, I realized that there was going to be a conflict between me and whoever I was working for. The like excited creative artist in me was going to be, doing something. And then the corporate overlords that I was working for were going to want something else. And I realized, man, this is never going to work. So I went through, got the degree, learned a few things, not a lot, to be honest. And not a lot when it comes to the degree. I learned a lot about other things of college environment. We won the national championships when I was in there. So it was like Playboy Party School of the Year. So I learned a lot. It just had nothing to do with the curriculum that I got a degree in. And so after graduating, I decided, you know what, screw this. I'm not going to be doing that thing, and was going to be an outdoor guide, something I really enjoyed. And thought that, I don't know, I really didn't put a lot of thought into it, but probably in my head, it was like 2 or 3 years. I'll probably just hop around doing outdoor guiding. And that could be, hey, this summer I'm going to be a whitewater rafting guide in Utah. And then I'm going to be a ski guide over here in California the next season or whatever. So that was kind of the strategy, the plan that was not even a plan. And I remember driving up to Alaska, and a buddy gave me a book. So many people thought I was going to be an entrepreneur, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that right now. Like that sounds like a lot of work. And I remember a buddy gave me the book, Let My People Go Surfing by Yvon Chouinard, founder of Patagonia. And
Nice.
I was driving up to Alaska. I was working in Alaska for the summer, and read that book on the way up there, kind of planted that seed. And then I lived out in the Tongass rainforest that a lot of people don't realize, but in Alaska, there's a rainforest. And was working a really cool job, and was living out in the forest with two other friends that I'd met at this job. The friend that was living out there with me, he was just such an adamant business owner mindset. He wanted me to read, like, was it not Man's Search for Meaning? Another one of these kind of like self-help books that was just really suggesting that you should be an entrepreneur. And he kept on hammering about, and I was like, dude, I don't want to be a business owner. And so he was hammering me the whole time. And then I had this one incident. The job was awesome. This is a zipline canopy tour guide. I was already experienced in that, knew what I was doing. And it was a cush job, and I did really well at it. was just making like a lot of money for me being a little young guy who like was having fun doing the thing that I really love to do, living out in the forest. And I remember there was an incident that happened where the manager had to take me to the side and was like, "Hey man, like I'm sorry. I would trust you with my life, but I have to suspend you for a few days, um, because this thing happened, and I just have to. Love you. You're awesome, but got to do that." And so he suspended me for a few days. Happened to be like the best 3 days of the whole like summer. The sun was out as bright, and I decided, well, cool. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go do. I'm gonna go hike up in the mountains and live in the mountains for a few days. So I had speaking of cash belt and cash cap, that's our product with the secret pockets. I acquired some fungus and went up and lived in like a little under a tree stump, ate the fungi, and kind of had an epiphany. And I was thinking through this scenario of like, look, this job is awesome. I'm making money. I'm doing the thing I love. I'm living in the forest. The manager is actually really cool. He's a great guy. And like, why did that conflict come up? And it was like, it's not the job, it's not the money, it's not him. Shit, it's me. I'm unemployable. So that really like planted the seed of like, man, I probably am not going to be able to continue to work for other people much longer. And after that gig was done, I went back down to Texas, and my mom had got me a Christmas present that it was right up my alley, and it was like a paracord belt. So belt with like rope woven onto it, so you can functionally use the rope. You have like 100 feet of rope you could use in this like scenario in your head where you need to like rappel out of a helicopter onto a mountaintop or whatever
Right, right.
hypothetical scenario some people think maybe. But when I looked at that design, I was like, I can do better than this, and I knew that company was doing well, and I was like, I think the marketing side of me and the product designer side of me kind of came together in that moment. I was like, I know for a fact I can do a better design, and I know that it will take off like immediately. And that's what I did. So I started to create a couple different designs that were in that niche that I kind of everyday carry niche, but it's like more survival, and went into it. And immediately it did kind of take off. So I'm kind of like doing a little entrepreneur thing, just working for myself, making the stuff myself, and moved onto a sailboat. I had this idea of wanting to like live on sell around the world in a sailboat. So I bought a sailboat, was living in the sailboat. This is in Texas, on the east coast of Texas, and was living on the sailboat, doing this little job where I'm like, working for myself now, have a little business, doing that little thing. And this market that I was serving, this was now kind of paracord bracelets. Did you ever see these? They were like the rope bracelets.
Yes, when I was in high school, those were really popular. Yes. So
Yeah,
when
they
you're
were.
describing 100 foot of rope for no reason, I'm like, yes, my kids wore that in my high school for literally no reason, bro. I continue.
Yep. Yeah. So we rode that wave like perfectly. And by what I mean I partnered with somebody after a few months. I was on the boat and things were working out, and I had designed this paracord bracelet that had all kinds of other stuff on it too. At the time, there was literally only one. There was a paracord, a rope bracelet, and they were calling them survival bracelets. I ended up creating a design that had like 20 other things incorporated into it, all kinds of things incorporated into this bracelet rather than just a rope. Like imagine fire starters and a whistle and a compass and things like that, and like
Yeah.
20 other things. And did this really cool design, and it was doing well. And I got notified. I had a friend who was like, "Hey man, I think this other guy in the US is doing this thing that you're doing." And looked up, and it was like, he is kind of doing the thing. And I knew this market well already. And I knew that nobody was really playing the game that I was playing. And I looked, and this is on like his Facebook page. The location was like 15 minutes down the road. And I was like, this is crazy. Messaged
What?
him, it was very bizarre. And I was like, hey man, I messaged him and I was like, hey dude, we gotta meet up. Like I envisioned like some way, shape or form, like you, I would probably, I knew I'd made all these components that worked well. And I was thinking about serving as a like wholesale component seller. I would make all these components that were serving that paracord bracelet industry. And I was like, at the least bit, this guy's going to want my stuff. Like I've got like components that will add to his bracelets that he's making. So it's going to be a no brainer. We're going to work together in that way. So we ended up meeting up for beers, and turns out he was a NASA engineer. He would work for NASA. He's a mechanical aeronautical engineer. His name was Nick. And he had been working for NASA and had gotten fed up with that kind of rat race. And I think he got laid off or something and then decided to start his own little company. And so as we're talking about his story, my story, he's showing me, okay, well, this is our Facebook page. I don't think he didn't have a website yet, but had a good following, had a good brand logo, had kind of not a bad like aesthetic looking from the outside of as far as a brand is concerned. It's like that's pretty impressive because I didn't have a lot of that. I had been focusing on the product. And then I throw down like my products on the table and like, hey, this is what I've been working on. And I'm the marketing guy with not really good marketing at that time, but with a really good like engineered product. And he's the engineer with a good marketing, but not a really good engineered product. So we're like,
That's so funny.
there's something here. I think we probably need to figure out how we can combine forces and tackle this thing together. So a couple months later, we combined the companies and started the company kind of more together and really took off. Working out of the garage for a long time and then continued to expand it. And then still together to this day. Work out longest relationship I've ever had.
Right. I definitely know what you mean on that, brother.
If you're an entrepreneur, it's almost like being in the military, man. It's hard to maintain relationships when you're driving hard and fast and stuff. That's one of the few relationships, other than like good old friends, that has lasted that long, and we're still together. That was in 2013 that we came together, and 6 or 7 years ago, we were banging our heads against the wall. We were still in Southeast Houston, not too far away from where NASA is, and nearby Sailboat, because I lived on a sailboat the whole time. We were just banging our head against the wall. It was not, we were trying to have this outdoor company and we were consistently finding issues. We were not working with anybody locally, like as far as any local other businesses, any other SBA and that there's no local attachment. We were hiring up employees and we are having just like a chaotic time trying to grow this company when it seemed like we were just moving uphill the whole time. Everything was working against us in that location. And so we're like, we got to go. If we're going to do this outdoor company thing, we need to probably be where other outdoor companies are, near the outdoors. Kind of had this serious talk of, hey, we need to do this. And he could not leave. His wife still worked for NASA, still works to this day.
Okay.
So we decided, okay, well, Dustin will take the company and we'll move to a new location, and Nick will stay and kind of work from home. And we did that, and now whole nother story of how we found where we're at. But we're really happy. We're now in Longmont, Colorado. Very happy where we're at. Very happy with the way it worked out. And Nick still works from home, and then I have all operations and all the employees in the warehouse and the offices and stuff like that here in Longmont. That is the little bit longer story, but
No, you gave so many insights and definitely connecting with the audience extremely well there. Dustin, you, based off your personality, your hair, again, mainly your personality, you belong in the mountains. I don't think you belong on the water. I love the water. I'm also a Cali kid, but now that I live in Utah, by the way, we're neighbors, I am absolutely in love with the mountains. It's so different between sitting on a beach when you're surrounded by people and being in the mountains by yourself. It is vastly, vastly different. Steve Jobs actually has an autobiography where he talks about his psychedelic room. So when you brought up taking the fungi, I knew exactly what you meant. I've had so many realizations, spiritual realizations, mental breakthroughs on psychedelics. And I think people talk negatively about it, but at the end of the day, I don't think the government can control that. So they have to make it illegal. But I think if we all microdosed, therapeutic dose with a therapist, whatever, it would drastically improve our lives. It would cure depression. We would love ourselves almost instantly. I'm not going to go into all the benefits, but it's done wonders for my life. And I'm really glad you took that fungi in the mountains because here you are today, bro.
yeah. Yeah, I could leave that part out. It's a little bit safer to leave out things like that. We're still in a faux pas era, but I do feel
What
like
era?
a faux pas, like it feels a little taboo to still talk about
I
doing this
see.
illicit thing.
I see.
I do intentionally bring it up because I hope it does give other folks permission that have been indoctrinated otherwise, and gives them permission to maybe however they want to experiment to also go down a possible route, whatever that looks like for them. Growing up in a small town myself, yeah, and then conservative small town in Texas where I grew up, these things it's the devil.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think we're getting away from that generally, but I like to tell my story a little bit just as because it had it has changed me in a lot of ways too. So I had that permission to others.
Absolutely. Like you said, permission to others because somebody might be going through the same thing. They're curious about it. Like you're actually doing a service by bringing that up. To bring it back to business, in regards to metrics, cost of acquisition, LTV, who the core audience is, do you know kind of what your metrics are in regards to the business?
Yeah, generally speaking, they don't change a lot, but they've been changing a lot more recently. In the last year, we've seen some changes happen. So I could spit some out for sure. And and give the best that I know. But obviously, they're that we've seen the biggest changes in the last year with some of
Okay.
those general metrics. Yeah,
What do you feel like that is? And
we
changes
haven't
in a good way or bad way?
not in a good way. Yeah, we've not delved in deep enough. I will say we haven't figured it out. We're diving in a lot deeper. I mean, the big question right now is what changed from the couple years past. Especially we saw growth during COVID, and a lot of people told us when we were like, "Hey, we're actually seeing some pretty good growth here during the COVID period." A lot of folks said, "Oh, that's because you're into survival gear and people are like scared and buying." No, because I saw it across all e-commerce almost. Anybody who is in the e-commerce space saw a growth as long as you were providing a product or service that people could order in their underwear. Like it was a good time to be in a business. And in the last year, we really didn't see the maintenance of consistent traffic and conversions that we'd seen in years prior. Now we could just push it off as a change. We're finally coming off that bubble, that COVID bubble, perhaps, and
Mhm.
possibly that's part of it. I think there's a couple different things that we're discovering, but right now our biggest project is putting our company into AI. Particularly, we're using ChatGPT. We might regret that, and we might move over to Claude or something else soon. But just to get started on it, and just so it's really easy for our employees to get involved with our AI account, we're going to use just ChatGPT, and we're just like putting our company data, aggregating it all on ChatGPT so we can ask these questions like what is changing? What are some of the nuances that we can't see? Because for us, I think we probably have like 15 to 20 apps running on our Shopify, for example, right? And maybe by themselves they have a lot of good data, but there's never an aggregate or a comparison or no cross serving of that information to kind of see if there's any relevant trends or patterns or anything. So with AI, we have that ability to plant all these different data points, whether it be like our sales on Amazon, reviews on Amazon, or that channel, or our Shopify and our general information that people are saying about us on the internet and on Reddit or something. These are all just so scattered. And so I think right now we are taking a moment. We're going to plug it into AI and then I'll be able to better answer like what has changed in the last year and how we can double down on what has worked because we have found things that work. But man, I think the big they when I got that little fancy advertising degree, I remember when we were studying like the history of advertising. I think it was like a guy is a famous advertiser from like the 1950s. And one of the quotes, he was asked by a client, like, "Hey, man, like, I guess he was talking in 1950s. So I don't know how you talk in the 1950s, whatever
Hello,
that is."
sir.
Yeah, hello, sir. Whatever that American fake accent, British accent was. Hey, so can you tell me why you think this advertising is going to, why we need to buy your advertising, why it's going to work? And he's like, well, let me tell you, we know for a fact that half of all advertising works. The only problem, which half?
Right, right. I love that quote.
And you heard that before?
I recently heard it like a few days ago, last week sometime, and it's still funny to this day. Like that's a
Yeah.
really good one.
I would
'Cause it's so
extrapolate a lot
true.
more marketing. Yeah. I would say
Wait, what's up?
there's so much you're throwing so much stuff against the wall that it's like I see things working, but like I don't know exactly what it is. So attribution is, and especially in these days and age, even with advertising, attribution is just like such a you're just always chasing your tail with attribution. So I'm tired of doing that. I'm tired of guessing, and I think we're gonna get down to the brass tacks here soon. And with diving into the demographics, we're gonna find out exactly. And we don't. We built the company on this is what I want. This is the product I like. Let's just see if anybody else likes it. We throw it out there. They do. That's awesome. They don't. Okay, I guess they didn't like that. But I think our company was built a lot on our own intuition And we're going to be moving into a space of very data driven, which we have not been, to be honest. And that's kind of our that's going to be the direction we take in 2026.
It sounds from my experience with the podcast, even in my own business, intuition can get you to a certain level, but it sounds to me like you're at the level where data-driven decisions need to be a priority. I'm not discrediting the fact that we got to our position because of our intuition. You took the risk. This is a product I like. Other people will like it too. We need intuition. Again, I'm not discrediting it, but there is a certain point within business where it's a numbers game and we have to know the numbers. So let me ask you a couple of questions about that if you don't mind. Off the top of your head, you don't have to be specific with this. The revenue pre-COVID and the revenue now, is it identical? Remove the COVID numbers, just revenue before COVID and after COVID.
No. And we pretty much were always on a whatever left to right is up and to the right. I think last year was the first year we didn't increase from the year before. I mean, there's maybe been one other year pre-COVID, but we had consistent growth pretty much our whole history of our business. I mean, at first we were like doubling. And then we kind of
That's
lost a
obviously
little bit of that. And then it was just like 20, 30% better than last year, started to slow down, started to like, kind of taper off a little bit on and plateau-ish. Pre-COVID, no. I think the COVID years were good for us and we rode those all the way up until last year. And and all the seeds that we'd planted for 13 years, we had been riding that for the entire time. So revenue definitely went up during COVID for us and maintained up until last year. Does that answer your question? Is it a different way you want to ask it? I'm happy to.
No, you're good. You answered it perfectly. From a marketing standpoint, what has been your biggest channels? I guess how do people know about your product?
This is one of those things where I think we just got slammed. I did like a survey where I offered our customers, like I sent out an email and it was like, hey, we got this cool sticker. If you want a free sticker, just go fill out the survey. And literally, like I was kind of gobsmacked by some of the surprises. So when it was like a question like, hey, how'd you find out about us? Funny, we've asked this question in various ways, maybe like a post-purchase survey or something, but it was overwhelmingly YouTube, for example. And it's not from us. Like we have been so sloppy. It used to be originally like we grew the company off Facebook pages and then YouTube videos. And then as the business grew, we stopped making content as much in-house and started leaning into, and this was before they used the word like influencers or content creators. This was
Mhm.
like, 2014, 15 is when we started really investing in um, content creators or influencers. And it turns out that has continued to be the our best opportunities and will be. I was surprised. I put a lot of time and my energy into like Instagram, and it turns out that the actual customers that we are actually getting are mostly coming from YouTube. So that was surprising to me. It's funny that you've been doing this for how long? You didn't even know where the freak your customers are coming from, dude. Like, what are you doing? Again, working off intuition way too much. And that is going to be a new way that we refocus. We're going to be doing, what has worked. We're going to double down on those things. Obviously, we'll continue trying to break into other platforms and channels, but we will be now doing what has worked. And for us, we're going to do content too. I think that's going to be the thing is we're going to get back to our original roots. The first couple of years of creating content, when we'll be creating a lot more content in house now, and which we've kind of gotten we kind of gotten off track with building, just maybe building a little bit more rapport with our current customers and current followers, educating, expanding their knowledge of how our products work and our product line. And then with acquisition of new customers, really we'll get virality. I think we'll work towards getting like some of our content bringing in new customers via, a virality effect. And so that'll be mostly, I think our attention's kind of mostly going to be on Instagram and YouTube right now for the content, as well as it'll continue to be that way for putting attention into content creators. If I can like let those pots cook a little bit, then I'll get back to, and we'll be throwing stuff on TikTok and things, but that's such a different game that we are not familiar with. We'll then expand back into TikTok, see if we can get that channel warmed up and going, because we really have never put a lot of time into TikTok. It's just its own little beast, and they're too small of a team right now. Yeah, I think those are our main channels. So it's going to be like organic via the influencer marketing been our biggest.
That works extremely well. I want to say a couple of things, Dustin. I interviewed the owner of Sheath. He's like an underwear guy, so kind of similar apparel. He said he doesn't spend money on Facebook, does not spend money on Instagram or TikTok. He only utilizes influencers and podcasts and other influencer marketing content creators. And it works for two reasons. One, if I own a podcast and I get 100,000 views and I say, hey, buy Wazoo clothing or buy Wazoo gear, because I'm a fan of this podcast creator, of course I'm going to trust his word. I'm going to trust his taste. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Let me purchase that. So I think that works exceptionally well. The other reason why I like YouTube is because when you do run advertisements on YouTube, I'm not suggesting you do this, I'm just saying in general, like how it works. You're allowed to pick specific channels where you think your customer base is actually on. So if this outdoor channel has, I don't know, 1 million subscribers as an example, you can just directly run ads to that channel. And because that's your customer base, sales might shoot through the roof. That I do own a business that has worked successfully in the past. Again, not suggesting you do that, but definitely my insights there. I think the third thing I wanted to say is double down. You kind of already brought this up, but I wouldn't stretch your wings too thin. I wouldn't do TikTok, do Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. I would go balls to the wall on one channel, max out that channel, get all the revenue profit, and then dibble dabble over here. That's just
100%.
my 2 cents on the matter. For sure, for sure. With that being said, content. I think content, you know this, but you don't necessarily have to create content and then immediately spend money on it. You can simply create content, post it organically, and whatever gets the most reels, you can check out your analytics there. Whatever's performing best organically would statistically perform well if you do push ad spend behind it, right? That's just my 2 cents on the matter.
I agree with all those. Yeah. And we're gonna be getting back. We've I think 5 agencies in the last 4 years. And we've seen some, we've had some like ads at one ad creative that pop off and do like 240K or something like in sales. And like one particular creative, and we're like, awesome, all that, put fuel on it, put as much fuel, like whatever you need. And then it dies, and then we can
Mhm.
never bring it back. And it's just like, oh, that's so crazy. Well, can we do like 10 different iterations of that? Or like, so we have seen success, mostly meta for us, and we've seen success in paid, and we will be getting back to that, because as much as I am saying that we're going to go back to the organic side of things, and that will be the majority of continuing to double down on the influencers and maybe even do some paid on direct channels. Paid has better attribution relatively. Like I can kind of calculate numbers a little bit better. Like I don't know where people are you can do the game of like, if I'm on your podcast, I'm like, hey, do this coupon code to go to, yeah, but like that, there's so much loss in that funnel, and you really can't track it that well. No one's found out a secret of how to track that thing, and then you're creating barriers like, yeah, go to that website whenever you remember to do it after you're out of your car 3 hours later, and then remember to type in the code or the custom URL. And it's just like affiliate stuff, or that it's just hard. Whereas advertising, even though the attribution I will bitch about all day is still so far off, I can kind of see, okay, 2.8 ROAS. I know that they went from here to here to here. So we're going to get back to ads, because it is at least it is a, uh, it is a scalable model that has relatively good attribution visibility.
It's the fastest way to scale. I always say if you can crack paid advertising, you just discovered how to print fucking cash. In regards to attribution, Facebook's attribution is dog shit. I know Hyros. Yeah, you can use like Hyros. That's so expensive. You can use Triple Whale, I think. There's other tools and attribution platforms that can help you with all that fun stuff, but Meta is just dog shit. Don't know why. For being a damn near $1 trillion tech company, they're horrible, my man. I got a couple more minutes with you here. When did you feel like the business became real? Between idea and implementation to holy shit, this is like actually working. Like people are buying my product. When did that moment click for you?
Well, two answers. One is I'm waiting for that moment. Like we'll see. I do feel like during COVID, I got a little bit of spark of that. And it was because we were not doing anything usually before, kind of previous to COVID, maybe maybe even a year or two prior to COVID, everything had a direct correlation. What we did, if we were in a magazine or on a podcast, or you could see the spikes, you could see the correlation of things you did had a cause and effect. And it was kind of maybe right prior to COVID or during COVID that we continue to get sales every day consistently without us doing anything. And I think we've created that flywheel of content or goodwill with customers that had a momentum that worked without us needing to continue to, like, to borrow the analogy of like stoking the fire. Like, it was a self-feeding fire. And most of the time prior to that, it always felt like I had to do something to make something happen every time. If we want sales, do this thing. And when it was kind of growing itself, that's when it felt like, oh, cool. Like, this thing doesn't need me to do everything all the time.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really it's a moment until you experience it for yourself, you probably won't get it, but where it's like, holy shit, like I made money in my sleep, or I don't have to work to create money. Like, like you escape the matrix. You take the red pill, you know, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Let's see. I got a couple questions for you, my friend. What is the next biggest phase in the next 12 months? What's the biggest goal y'all want to accomplish for 2026, Dustin?
Man, I hope it's that our team really adopts a strong AI foundation for everything we do, whether it's the warehouse and inventory or whether it's customer service and incorporating that. I hope our team really quadruples down individually the on our AI so we can just have force multipliers across the whole team. And from there, being able to dial in on our messaging, our customer demos. So we're not throwing things against the wall. I would love an 80-20 rule or something where we're still throwing stuff against the wall, trying new stuff. That's awesome for the 20%. But 80% of the stuff is a calculated, scalable process in which we're like, we know this person likes to hear this thing about our thing and they'll do this thing. And having a formula that is rinse and repeat and scalable. We've found that a few times, but it's never been consistent where we continue. It seems like it drops off, whether it be an ad or something else, that we really never grasp the formula in its granularity, that we understand what's happening. And because it falls off, we're like, what happened? Was it the messaging? Was it the audience? What was it? And I really want us, well, I know we're going to figure that out, and I will know who, what, when, where, and how of all these individuals. And I'll be able to continue to feed that machine, and it will continue to scale.
No, absolutely. When you have that clarity with metrics within the business, you can actually make decisions opposed to, fuck, is it this? Is it that? Is it that? It's almost daunting, stressful. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. Like, being in a business or owning a business is very rewarding, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like, sometimes it is very stressful. Sometimes you don't sleep. Sometimes you're banging your head against the wall, you know, but that is the price you pay as entrepreneurs. As I'm sure Dustin would agree, I'd rather live no other life than this one here.
Yeah, I always say worth it. Like, I don't think it's for everybody that, like, our employees. We're so transparent. Like, one of our sort of values is just to be really transparent with our employees, and everything is happening. Sometimes entrepreneurs, like, I've heard this from different business owners, they're scared. Maybe it's like different types of businesses, but you're an auto shop or something, and you're afraid that you're going to train up your employees are going to go off and leave you. And I mean, barring the fact that I think we treat our employees very well, but they tell me consistently, like, Dustin, I now that I know what it's like from y'all's perspective, I have no interest in being a business owner. Like they don't, they
So
know
funny.
that, like, I'm taking the hits and that I'm kind of shielding them from the ups and downs, and I want to create like a comfortable, consistent environment for them that every 2 weeks they're going to get paid. So I think that providing that for them, they like that. And for other people, for some of us, you never find any kind of consistency. You never find like a confidence of, like, if you did good today, you gotta wake up and do it all over again tomorrow. There is no guarantee that it will ever that you got it figured out or anything. So I don't think it's for everybody, but for me and for a lot of folks who can stomach the roller coaster, it's worth it. It's worth the pain. It's worth the suffering of banging your head against the wall and figuring out, because not only is it the freedom, which is what I get out of it. I think that that's maybe a misnomer for a lot of folks is like business means you make a lot of money. I know how to spend a lot of money. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Amen
I
to
know how
that,
to
brother.
but, for me, freedom is important, but also it's living in our purpose. And for me, the business has become an extension of me to change the world in our slightest little ways. If we have something we're passionate about, if we want to demonstrate a way to run a business with ethics, if we want to create a product that we feel like helps people in a positive manner, I can do that at scale. I can help so many people. I can provide great message that I believe in. And I think that's one of the most important things to me is instead of like being under some other corporate companies, things that I'm not exactly believing in, I can do it however I want to do it. And I think that's super important to me. And it's worth it. It's worth the pain. It's worth the suffering if I feel like I'm living in my purpose.
Absolutely. You said something important at the beginning where it's kind of shielding the employees from the ups and downs. I think that actually is a leadership skill where we are staring into the abyss. We are staring at every single problem we have within the company, but we cannot let our staff know. Like, we're going up. Like, these are going great. They keep working hard. We'll figure this shit out. Like, we got this. Go. But even though, like, behind the scenes, it's melting down, volcanoes erupting, you know what I mean? So it really is a skill, my friend. And I'm glad you possess that. Kudos to you. Dustin, any closing notes you want to mention, or where can the people find you, my friend?
Closing notes. Give me a few seconds to see if there's anything else. I appreciate the questions and the guiding of the conversation. I got out a lot of what I want to get out. I think the only closing thing, man, we touched on it, but if I can reiterate what we touched on in the beginning, man, I love that you riffed on the victim card thing. I really think that is the secret of life is that I have not found personally, and I want to put this out in the world. I have never found that choosing the victim mentality ever works out in any situation. It could feel like it works out in a short term situation. But when you erode your identity to being a victim in whatever scenario it is, I don't think it ever works out best for you. However, alternatively, Jocko Willink has like a whole, he has a book, Extreme Ownership, as well as like a whole academy and things like that. However, if you choose this route, I know it sounds weird for some people of extreme ownership, that everything comes down to the choices you make and that you actually have way more control. Or actually, let me phrase it this way you have as much control as you believe you do. There's a
Mm,
quote that is attributed to Henry Ford is, and there's some other formats of this, but the man who believes he can and the man who believes he can't is right. Or if you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right, or whatever, however you want to do that. But I think belief and how much you can control, belief and how much you can own in your life and in everything else, that is the secret, is just like take, and I work, it's always a working situation of trying to figure out how I can like eat more ownership up. But it's
mm,
like if my employee screws up, if my one of my warehouse employees messes something up, and then we got like, this little tiny little bureaucracy, and we're like 4 levels deep. I got a COO, and then a operations coordinator, and then a warehouse manager, and then under that I got like assistant. If that one at the very bottom, if they mess something up, that was my responsibility. That was something I did not train them well. I didn't pass down whatever it is, and taking as much responsibility as possible leads to the best outcome is what I would argue from what I've seen. So anytime you find yourself like saying, pointing outward of like, well, the economy, well, the X, the Y, the Z, it's like, stop. It
mhm.
is what it is. Just figure it out. Find the confidence within you to say, I have control of the situation. I will figure out, come hell or high water, how to bend the realm of reality to my whim. And God, it works out so much better, in my opinion. Yeah. So that's you can find us on Instagram mostly, and then all the other socials and stuff. We'll be doing more YouTubes and things like it. But Wazoo Gear Co. on Instagram is our most prevalent social media, and wazoogear.com is our website.
If I can piggyback what you said at the air then, at the end there, when you blame everything but yourself, you cast out all of your power. So the question I want to propose to you is, do you want to be powerful and take full ownership, or do you want to be powerless and be useless? Anyways, Justin, it was a pleasure having you. I feel like we can be friends off camera in real life. Love the energy, love the mindset. I wish you guys the best success in 2026. And thanks for hopping on.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jordan. And thanks to everyone if they made it this far on the podcast. Thanks for listening to me. I know I'm a rambler and I appreciate it. And if you ever want to get in touch, we got a lot of ways to get in touch with us here at Wazoo. And thank you so much for everybody who's gotten this far and listened to us. And I wish the best for you. Go do it. Get it.
Thanks, audience. Cheers.